turn this over to you.
All right, thank you very much, Carl. Let me share my screen. All right, let's see if we can minimize that. Okay, hi everyone. My name's Eric Widman. I lead Chicago Liquid Studio. Really excited to be here today and talking to you. I thought, before we kick things off that we'd head over to menti.com here, and I just want to kind of take a temperature of the room and get a better understanding of who's on the call. So if you pull out your cell phones, head over to menti.com and type in this code, 8239739. You'll get this question and you can type in what type of degree you're pursuing. So we'll take 20, 30 seconds here. All right. So far, it looks like it's kind of a mixed bag. I know there's more than 5 people on the call. Let's give it another 10, 15 seconds, see if we get any more. But I'll assume that we probably have a slightly heavier bias towards bachelor students and a couple of master students in here as well. It might be an even split. Let's do one more question. So I also want to know, what's your field of study? So are you an engineering or science type major? Are you business or marketing, or are you doing something completely different? This is an even split today. This looks like we have about half engineers, half business type people on the call, and I'll try to frame my talk accordingly. Definitely need both types of people at Accenture. So I'm going to head it back over to my presentation. Okay. So today I'm going to talk about Accenture and a lot of the innovation work that we do here and kind of how we're structured. And I want to give you a couple examples of the work that my team does, hopefully get you inspired. And the other part of this talk today, when I was your age and I went to these kind of talks, it was cool to see what people were doing, but sometimes I didn't find it that helpful because I didn't really understand how they got there. So part of this talk is going to be about my personal journey and all the choices that I've made throughout my life and why I made those choices and how that led to me ending up here at Liquid Studio leading this team. So we have a 7-point agenda. First up, it's all about who am I and why you should care. Then I want to talk a little bit about why consulting. I know you are probably thinking about a lot of different paths for yourselves right now. So let's just kind of start there and ask the question, why should you go into consulting? Then let's ask the question, okay, if you're going to go into consulting, what's Accenture all about and why could that be a great fit for me? And if you end up at Accenture, maybe you're thinking about going into innovation. So I'm going to make a case for the types of innovation that we do here and why it might be a great fit for you. And then I'm going to talk about my team, Liquid Studios, and what we do. And at the end of this talk, I'm going to talk about how to get from point A to point B. And I'm going to wrap that up with the section I call the secret sauce, career advice from a mad scientist. And I think that will make more sense after I get through this first part, who I am. All right, let's do this. So my story starts on the other side of the world. I was born in a town called Sollefteå, which is located in northern Sweden. It's about 2 hours south of the Arctic Circle, so really, really far north. A lot of snow, a lot of ice during the winter. And this is a view of the town. It's a mountain town. There's a big, giant river flowing through it. It's a beautiful place. Grew up there, played a lot of sports, basketball, hockey, soccer, and was always into math and science. And I lived there until I was 17. And then I moved to the US and did a year of high school as an exchange student. And I ended up staying in the US and continuing with my college pursuits. And I started my education at Western Michigan University, where I went into electrical engineering. So I actually didn't really know what I wanted to study at the time, but um, I have always been really interested in music and always played music since I was a kid. And I thought I was actually going to go and design recording equipment and musical instruments, like gear that you'd see in a recording studio. That was kind of my initial ambitions. And my senior thesis project involved creating a vacuum tube guitar amplifier. And once I had done that, those types of problems actually seemed kind of trivial to me. They weren't really difficult enough, I think, and they didn't really pique my interest. So after my bachelor's degree, I actually felt like I didn't really know anything, that my education wasn't complete, and I had the opportunity to go to the University of Notre Dame and keep pursuing electrical engineering. So I said, okay, let's keep on going down this path. And there I studied a lot of digital signal processing, a lot of stuff that I do today, actually, a lot of stochastic processes and stuff like that. And after my master's degree, I decided that I've had enough education for a while, and I actually went and worked for about 10 years or so. And later on in my career, I came back to school and actually pursued a doctor's degree in biomedical engineering. And I spent some time at Columbia University and the Mayo Clinic as well. And I'll get into that later. But that's kind of an overview of my educational background. So my career path has been a long and winding road. I started on the hardware side designing neurostimulators, which is a pacemaker that you connect to your brain instead of connecting it to your heart. And you can use it to treat diseases like epilepsy or Parkinson's disease. And this is kind of where the mad scientist comes in. We did a lot of really crazy stuff. While I was there, I was working in the R&D department, and I was always working on devices that were kind of 10 years out in the future. So really kind of out there stuff that we weren't currently doing yet in the field. But I worked there for 3 years in Minneapolis, and in 2008, right when the economy was crashing, I thought that it would be a brilliant idea to quit my job and do something completely different. So I moved to Chicago and I formed a band with my brother. We were actually playing in a band already, but we decided to become full-time musicians. And I also opened up a recording studio at the same time. So we were touring the US for about 3 years, playing shows, being a professional rock band. And when I wasn't on the road touring, I'd spend my time writing songs for commercials. And I did music for a lot of big brands like Commerce Shoes, Monster Energy Drinks, Red Bull, Fruit of the Loom, Forever 21, these big well-known brands. And that really kind of opened up my eyes to entrepreneurship and learning how to create something out of nothing and working within super tight deadlines. So it was a little different work, but still this very kind of entrepreneurial and creative work. And I did that for 3 years, and then I decided I wanted to get back into science and engineering. And I headed back to Sweden, where I'm originally from, and went to KTH, Royal Institute of Technology, and pursued a PhD in biomedical engineering. So kind of went back to the mad scientist world. And here I was creating these algorithms that you can see here on the picture. This is the technique called shear wave elastography, where you're trying to measure how stiff tissue is just by using ultrasound. So this was a technique that I was working on and developing. And this is where I really got into computer vision and working with lots of data and AI and ML and that kind of stuff. So I kind of transitioned from working on hardware to getting into the creative arts, then transitioning over to software. And During my PhD, I worked with Columbia University and the Mayo Clinic. And while at Columbia, I was hanging out a lot with all the MBA students and started doing consulting cases with them. And I knew I didn't want to continue my career in academia, but I wanted to go back to industry. And consulting for me was a really great way to transition. So first I thought I was going to kind of do more of the management consulting strategy angle, but eventually I kind of realized that I had too much technical background, and my real strengths were both in strategy, but also this, mathematics and computer science, and that I could actually combine those two things and become a product manager and try to position myself within AI products, which, a couple of years back, 4 or 5 years back, was a really kind of emerging field at the time. So that led to my first consulting gig at a small consultancy, or a medium-sized consultancy, called Solstice in Chicago, where I started working, creating, building apps, working a lot with IoT, getting into AI products like virtual agents and creating voice experiences. So I created things like these Alexa skills that you see here for a lot of different applications within finance and elderly care, just a couple examples. Did that for 2 years, and then I transitioned over to Accenture to build up this Liquid Studio team that I currently lead. And today we work a lot with computer vision and deep learning. And a lot of the things that I had kind of picked up during my PhD is what I'm doing with my team today. But as you can see, my path has been quite long and very nonlinear and very varying, right? But I think there are some commonalities here between all these different jobs that I've had. And I'll open it up to the chat window here and see if, can any of you see kind of the common traits between all these different jobs? I'll let Carl monitor the chat here, see if anyone dares to type in an answer.
Mike Tomasello said all involved creating something. Rahul said image processing.
Yep. Yeah, I think Mike's spot on. All these jobs are all about creation. It doesn't matter if you're talking about making a hardware product or writing a song or making software or an AI experience. It's all about the process of creating something. And I think the other theme with all these jobs too is it's all about pushing boundaries. So for my first job, I was working on something that was 10 years out. With music, I was always trying to create a new sound or do something new that someone hadn't done before. And during my PhD work, I was always working on these emerging technologies and things that didn't exist yet. And that's kind of what we're still doing today with my group. We're trying to create new products that don't exist yet, or solve really difficult problems with these technologies and productize them. And so I've kind of like figured out, it took me like 10, 15 years to figure this out, what I was really good at and what I really enjoyed. And that it was really about creation, that I could get the same satisfaction out of making a piece of software as I could from writing a song or doing something else creative. And my path has looked like this. It's a long and winding road, and I think many of your paths are going to be like this as well. And I think when I was in your shoes, I had no idea what I wanted to do. I just knew that I liked making stuff and pursuing things that I was interested in, and that might be a good enough start for where you are in your lives right now. You don't have to have a master plan, and if you do, it's not going to work out that way anyways. So don't worry about it. It's really about trying to figure out what you're passionate about right now, but also, try to figure out what you're good at. And on the other side of that, you want to think about, what does the world need? Figure out, what does the market look like, and what can you be paid for? So I think coming out of school, I was thinking a lot about maybe these two circles here in the Venn diagram, and went down that path. And nowadays, I'm definitely thinking a lot more about the business side of the world and what is the actual need, what skills are needed out in the world, and what should I be looking at? What's coming up next? And what do I need to be learning about? Because you're always going to have to be learning and growing and developing throughout your career. Okay. Any questions on this before we get into the next section? You can go ahead and type any questions into the chat or just come off mute and ask me a question. Okay. All right, we'll keep on going then. All right, so why should you pursue consulting? Consulting was something that I wasn't thinking about coming out of school. And I'm not here to tell you that it's the right path for everybody, because I don't think it is. But I do think consulting has a lot of advantages. And some of those advantages are that if you go into consulting, you'll be exposed to a lot of different industries and see a lot of different types of problems. And I think that's probably the most interesting part of the job for me personally, that I'm not confined to a certain domain for too long. I work on a problem for a handful of months, probably tops 6 months. And then I'm pivoting over to another industry, learning about it, learning about the problems that they face, and then trying to help them with their problems. Like I said, there's a lot of interesting problems that you can work on. And if you're in product consulting like I am, you have the opportunity to work on a lot of different types of products. So I've worked on everything from mobile apps to portals to analytics dashboards to voice skills to computer vision applications, IoT applications, connecting smart tractors to mobile apps and stuff like that. So you get to see a lot of interesting things if you're a technology product consultant. And that's, to me, one of the most exciting things about the job. And then the third real benefit is that I think you grow a lot faster in consulting than other industries, just because of that exposure and seeing so many different types of situations with clients. So you can really level up your tech skills, you can level up your interpersonal skills, your communication skills, and grow really, really fast. So if those types of things sound interesting to you, then I think you should strongly consider going into consulting. All right, let's talk about Accenture. So when I was your age, I had no idea who Accenture was. It wasn't on my map. I don't expect you to know much about the company. I learned a lot when I joined Accenture. I had no idea how big the company was and really how much influence the company had. So globally, the company has over 500,000 employees, 500,000, which is the size of a medium to large city. So that's a quite incredible number. And we're ranked number 2 in terms of revenue for all the consultancies globally, with over $44 billion of revenue as well. We're located in 50 countries around the world, and we're ranked number 1 in tech consulting. And it's just kind of like generally accepted that if you need a tech consultancy, Accenture is the best in the business, which is another reason why I came to the company. I think another really cool fact about Accenture is here in the US, our footprint is really enormous. I think we're represented in over 80% of the Fortune 100 companies, meaning that just about every brand that you see out there, we're working with them and we have access to them. And the big difference for me when I came from this medium 500 person type consultancy to Accenture was just the exposure to all these different brands and all the clients. And when you're working with these bigger brands, they have bigger budgets, which means that you can do more interesting things from a technology perspective and just work on these things that you never got the exposure to if you were at a smaller consultancy. So I think those are some of the most exciting things about the company. The other super cool thing that I think is unique about Accenture, not just within consulting, but in as a company in general, is that we have a female CEO, which is, first of all, unusual just to have a female CEO, but there's not that many tech companies that have female CEOs. And I'm personally very proud to work for a company that has a female CEO. This is Julie Sweet. She's been CEO for about a year now. And she really promotes innovation and realizes that that's at the core of what we do as Accenture and how important it is to us as a company and the amount of growth that it creates for us as a company. So she really supports us and makes a lot of strategic investments to the innovation platform. So I'm going to kind of go over the innovation landscape at Accenture, and this is it's big and confusing. Um, I don't expect you, there's no quiz here, so I don't expect you to remember this, but I think the main takeaway is that there's a lot of different types of innovation that happen across Accenture, and that there's a lot of different types of roles available out there. So I'm just going to give a couple examples here of different the different innovation groups that we have. So we have our Accenture Research Group, which is really a thought leadership group. And they're all about creating publications for Accenture and making us visible out in various media channels around the world. So they'll do a lot of studies, write publications, and then try to get that out there and promote our brand globally. Then we have Accenture Ventures, which is our VC arm. And they're all about keeping the pulse of what's going on in the startup world and making strategic investments and partnerships for Accenture. Right now, my team is actually partnering with a up and coming startup that's working on a response to COVID and how we're going to kind of move out of this pandemic and to be able to do normal things again. So it's really exciting to be kind of work with these small companies when they come up with really innovative solutions and help them productize them and get them out there. Another really cool thing about the venture group is last year, because of Black Lives Matter, Accenture made a big investment into startups with Black founders, which I thought was super cool. And I think they invested $15 or $20 million into Black-owned companies, which was a really great initiative as well. Third, we have Accenture Labs. So this is kind of your more traditional R&D lab group where their main output is scientific publications and IP. So we have a big innovation lab in Ireland called the DOC, and that's where a lot of these R&D groups work. And I think we have another group in Singapore as well that's pretty influential. And here in the US, I think the biggest lab group is located in San Francisco. And the next group is Accenture Studios, which this is where my team falls into, Liquid Studios. We're related to labs, but we try to take these technologies and build products out of them. And that's not necessarily the goal of labs. They're more trying to push the boundaries of what these technologies can do, but they don't have to create products around it. So we're more product focused, and we focused on rapid prototyping. Then we have our Accenture Innovation Centers, which is it's more like these big delivery hubs where we focus on these agile methodologies and things like paired programming, and we do more long-term delivery there. So my team might, we might work on a product and take it to an MVP, which means basically its first production ready state where it shows value. Then we could hand it off to somebody like one of these delivery centers that might own it for more longer term delivery. And excuse me, I skipped over the innovation hubs there. So, and finally, we have our innovation hubs. And I'm going to show you in a slide in just a second. We have them across the US. This is where a lot of these teams sit. And we do a lot of client sessions at these innovation hubs as well. I'm going to talk more about that in just a second. But like I said, what I want to show is that there's a lot of different types of innovation that happen at Accenture. And there are definitely roles. You don't have to be a technical person to necessarily go into innovation. We do need a lot of business people as well to lead a lot of these different groups. Okay. Any questions on the broader Accenture innovation landscape before I'm going to kind of dive down into what we do at the Chicago Innovation Hub next. Pause here and see if something comes up in the chat window.
Nothing at this point, Eric.
Okay, cool. So my team sits in the Chicago Innovation Hub, and I have a short video here that I want to play. It just kind of gives you an overview of what we do there, and then I'll kind of dive into some more detail. And I think I have to take off my headphones for this part.
I'm gonna build a robot that can clean up the river. I want to build a big battery that captures electricity in the air.
We are all born innovators, dreamers, and all of us at Accenture have the potential to make dreams a reality for our clients. But getting new ideas from the drawing board to the boardroom and scaling them in the real world isn't easy. It takes something unique, something dynamic. It takes dreamers and makers, the right mix of people with the right capabilities, passion, and grit. That's the difference of the Chicago Innovation Hub. This is where designers and technologists, storytellers and engineers come together. Where business challenges go from ideas to launching at scale, to building a culture of innovation. And it all starts here.
How can we deliver food to places without delivery?
How can we make AI more intelligent and less artificial?
How can we put the care back in healthcare?
Disrupt our industry. Make a difference.
How will we change the world?
Join us at the Chicago Innovation Hub, where dreamers meet makers.
All right, plug back in. So I hope that played well. That gives you kind of an overview of what it looks like there. And let me tell you a little bit about what we actually do there. If I can advance to the next slide here. Okay, so like I said, there's a lot of different innovation hubs across North America. I believe there's 11 in total. Kind of our big ones are San Francisco, New York, and Chicago's our big flagship one for the Midwest. And within the Innovation Hub, we have a lot of the different teams that I already showed. But in Chicago specifically, we have Accenture Ventures. We have a group called Applied Intelligence Studio, which is kind of a data analytics team. We have our operations studio, which focuses on, well, a lot of operations type solutions. We have our Accenture research team that I told you about that focuses on publications and research studies. We have kind of a broad group that we call our interactive studio. This is really a group of different acquisitions that Accenture has made over the past couple of years in Chicago. And it's a pretty diverse group within design and strategy and a lot of MarTech companies as well. Then we have rapid prototyping. So that includes my team, Liquid Studio, and we have another small team called Catalyst, which has a little bit different focus. We have our product and retail innovation. We do a lot of CPG in Chicago and in the Midwest. So we have a lot of experience there. And then we have the Supply Chain Nerve Center, which is our supply chain group. Okay, so what do we actually do at the Innovation Hub? I'd say there's a couple different flavors of the types of projects that we do at the hub. But one big thing that we do is we bring in clients to the hub and do a lot of client sessions with them, where we try to really do these three things. Number one, discover. We try to understand what problems they're facing or what problem we're trying to tackle, and dig deeper and try to figure out what's the really underlying problems that we need to solve for. Number two, we try to describe, and that's really about trying to think about human-centered design and different ways we can approach to solving a problem. And then we work with them on co-creation and do different types of lean design and agile exercises to come up with different solutions with them. So an example of what this might look like it could be a multi-day session. It could be a one-day session. Here's an example agenda. Let me minimize this. Here's an example agenda for a one-day session where we kind of start off with the why, talk about, try to figure out what the problems that they're working on. Then we might go ahead and do a tour and do some inspiration. So they might bring in somebody like me who shows a demo, something that my team has been working on, or maybe I'm talking about a technology and where it's going to be headed the next 5 years. In the afternoon, we kind of do a deep dive into their problem statement and start working on solutioning. And at the end of our session, we either, depending on the type of project that it is, either we agree to, try to do a POC and prove out a concept that we've come up with, or we, kind of move on with some next steps. Okay. So now I'm going to kind of dive in and talk about Liquid Studios, which is my team, and we're part of the Innovation Hub, like I said. So Liquid Studios is actually a pretty big group globally. There's 50 different Liquid Studios worldwide. And here in North America, we have 7 of them. And each one kind of has its own little flavor. So on this slide, you can see some of the tech stacks that each studio has. Here in Chicago, we do a lot of AWS and GCP, but we also do Azure projects as well. And in Chicago in particular, we have a pretty strong focus on computer vision, NLP. We do cloud native development, and we're really great at rapid prototyping. So I'm going to show you a couple example projects of that. The core goal of Liquid Studio is really these 3 things: concept realization, innovation partnerships, and sales enablement. So concept realization means we want to take an idea or prove out an idea for a client and quickly build a rapid prototype, create a minimum viable product. Like I said, that means a product that's built big enough to prove value, but nothing more. And we want to show that there's value there and prove out the idea, and then hopefully we can sell that idea to a bigger delivery team who might kind of create the enterprise version of that product. Second thing that we do is try to create these innovation partnerships. So I've been working with one of the big beverage companies here in the US, and we have a technology partnership going on with them where we have been working on a lot of different types of computer vision problems. And I'm going to show you a demo here in a second of one of them. But they've trusted us as their technology and innovation partner, and they keep coming to us with new projects. So one example of something that they came to us with last fall was they wanted us to build a computer model for predicting new flavors. So say you want to make like a strawberry type drink, what flavor compounds would be the best combination, and what are different compounds that you could use to create those flavors. So it's an interesting way to use AI to create new drinks that haven't been thought of before. And the final thing that we do is sales enablement. We really support a lot of other Accenture teams here by doing these quick 1 or 2 week POCs where we build a little mock-up of a technology or something that they can then take to the client, and it's kind of a shiny object that they show for them and say, look what we could do for you. And we help them land these big deals that we do. And these are deals the orders of hundreds of millions of dollars, sometimes in the billion range for our largest deals. Here's an overview of all the different technologies that our groups work with. Like I said, each Liquid Studio has its own flavor, so they might have more expertise in one area than another. But I'll just kind of give a quick overview here of some of the cool things that we do across North America. We have one group that just specializes in blockchain, and that's kind of an up and coming area, and we're seeing more and more business there. We do extended reality work. So that's kind of our internal term. Externally, a lot of people call it virtual reality. We do robotics, we do a lot of automation and robot process automation. My group is AI group, so we do a lot of work within data science and AI. We do a lot of stuff with hybrid cloud. My team builds all of our stuff in cloud native and serverless architecture. We do a lot of IoT applications, data analytics, and these are some of the technology platforms that we really focus on. Here's a more detailed slide of my group. It's really the same things that I've already said. My team builds custom software. We're an AI team, and we also do a lot of extended reality.
Eric, we have a question that came up in chat.
Yep.
Rahul asked, when it comes to rapid prototyping, is the tech stack decided by your team, or does it depend on the customer or the client requirements?
Both, I would say. It varies from project to project. A lot of times we'll be giving technology recommendations based on our experience. Sometimes we're confined to a tech stack, but if we see that it's going to be a problem, we'll use ways to kind of get them to pivot to another tech stack. I've had examples of where we've had to kind of take a data-driven approach to get clients to change their minds on tech stacks. So the answer is it's a mix, but I'd say probably 75% of the time we probably control the tech stack. 25% of the time it's client influenced. Great question. Okay, so I'm going to dive into a couple examples here of some of the things that my team has done. The tricky thing about consulting is I can't actually, a lot of these things I can't show you, and I can't talk about the clients that we work with, but I'll try to speak around it and show you as much as I can. This is a product that we call Label Right, and it was for this big beverage company that I told you about. So they're located in just about every market in the world. They have many different products in every market, and many of these products are seasonal, meaning that they come out with labels throughout the year. So if you do the math, that means you have thousands of labels globally. And on all these labels, you have your ingredient section, you have your nutritional information, and it's really important that that information is correct to avoid litigation. And this is the type of problem that humans are typically really bad at, going through very small detailed text, making sure that it's all correct. But this is something that AI is extremely good at and computer vision's great at. So we built this online platform where you can upload a beverage or a snack artwork, and we'll use computer vision to find these different areas in the artwork. And you can see these different bounding boxes here for these different sections in the artwork. Then we use technology called OCR, stands for Object Character Recognition, to extract the text out of there. And then we compare it to a source of truth. And we can find different types of errors like spelling mistakes, punctuation mistakes, and abbreviation errors. We can point out on the artwork where the error is actually located and highlight it with a little box. And then after they're done kind of going through that, making sure that everything looks good, then they can export it and share it with the artwork team. And we built this for 3 different languages, for Arabic, Chinese, and English. And did our initial MVP in 6 weeks, and then we extended several times and worked on this project for about 6 months in total. But the real cool thing about this is that we were able to reduce the time it takes to validate one of these artworks. It used to take about 15 minutes, and we could reduce that by about 50% and got it down to about 7 minutes per artwork by using computer vision. So I think that's a pretty powerful example of how you can use these tools really to enable people and not really try to replace workforce. So I think that's been a real misconception the past couple of years, how AI is going to get rid of jobs. And in my mind, it's all about making people more efficient and trying to give them superpowers so they can do their jobs faster and focus on other things. Here's another example of a project that we did last fall. This was with one of the big energy companies here in the Midwest. They were getting into smart meters and starting to think about, what is home energy auditing gonna look like in the future? How can I understand what's actually going on in my house? And they came to us with these smart meters and said, this is the technology that we want to use, but we need your help to figure out what does the customer experience actually look like, and what would how would we use this type of technology in a mobile app? So my team worked on creating a prototype, a clickable prototype, where we actually didn't build out the app, but we just create a user experience and a design that you can click through to give you a sense of, what would this app look like? What would it feel like? What are the important features for the user? What problems are we going to be solving for them? And then at the end of this project, it's really a strategy engagement where they make a buy versus build decision. In this case, they loved the app that we came up with, and they decided to go ahead with it, and they're actually starting development on it right now. You can see a couple screenshots down here in the corner where you can get more granular information of all the power consumption that's going on in your house in real time, and how that breaks down to cost, what your fridge is costing you, what your lights are costing you, and so on. And the last example I wanted to give here was a voice AI example. So this is a product called Ava, the Retirement Coach. And this was built for a government agency, kind of a POC that we did for them. And a problem that they were facing was that during an economic recession, or when things start collapsing, people tend to dip into their retirement savings, which is a huge problem, because it's really a short-term solution that has really long-term consequences that will mess up your retirement. And oftentimes it's a lot better to try to take a short-term loan instead of dipping into your 401k. So we thought, well, can we create a virtual agent that can actually coach you and nudge you in the right direction to making a better financial decision without actually telling you what to do? Because then you get kind of into a legal gray zone there if you're starting to get financial advice from a virtual agent. And I'm actually going to show a video of this. We built some really awesome features where you could actually negotiate the terms of this short-term loan with the virtual agent, and ask questions in a lot of different ways, and it will understand you and give you different types of responses. So I'm going to switch over here to my browser and show you a video. Oops, this one right here. So this video picks up at the user has kind of gone through a conversation with this agent, and they've been nudged in the right direction to take a loan. And at this point, they're going to negotiate the terms of that loan with the agent. And I think what you want to pay attention to is all the different types of ways that you can have this conversation, to ask the question, and the natural language that you can actually use. Just because you're talking to a robot doesn't mean that you have to talk like a robot, right? It should understand the way that you speak. So let's check that out.
Retirement is a good choice. It sounds like you want to borrow $20,000. Is that correct?
Actually, I want to borrow $25,000.
Great, I have 3 loan options for you. You can click on the cards for more details. Do any of these loans work for you?
Let's click on the 24-month card.
For a 24-month loan, your monthly payment would be $1,102.39. Does this loan work for you?
Ava works with the user to find loan repayment terms that work for them.
I want to pay $700 per month.
For a monthly payment of $700, your loan length would be 40 months. Does this loan work for you?
I'd rather pay over 30 months.
Paying your loan back over 30 months would give you a monthly payment of $893.84. Does this loan work for you?
Can I pay over 4 years?
Paying your loan back over 48 months would give you a monthly payment of $581.41. Does this loan work for you?
We can set Ava's rules for negotiation and decide what she can adjust and within what limits. Let me show you another example of this.
I changed my mind. I want to pay $200 per month.
The maximum loan repayment time is 58 months. Paying your loan back over 58 months would give you a monthly payment of $491.84.
All right, we'll pause it right there. So, like I said, the important thing there was, all the different ways you can ask a question, whether you're asking to pay a certain amount per month, or you want to pay over X number of months or so many years. Uh, that's kind of, some of the AI logic that we created. So it figures out what your payment would be. If you try to mess with it, you can kind of put boundaries on it so the user can't screw it up. But it's a really cool example of how you can try to create these natural, more human experiences with AI. Okay, so that was the last example that I'm going to show. And now I'm going to head into the last part of our conversation. So I've shown you a lot of cool stuff. I hope you feel inspired about Accenture and the innovation work that we do here and the cool projects that we do at Liquid Studio. And now hope that all of you are thinking, I'd love to work at Accenture. I'm graduating now. Sign me up, Eric. I want to be part of your team. And you're thinking it's a straight path to get there. And unfortunately, the reality of the world, it kind of goes back to the beginning of the talk. The real path from A to B looks more something like this. It's a curvy road, but it doesn't mean that you can't get there. It's you can definitely get to that point B. I want to give you a couple of concrete examples of how you can join a team like mine, like Liquid Studio, or join Accenture as a whole and get involved with innovation here. So I think there are three main paths. The first one, and probably the most obvious one, is to join Accenture either after school or to do an internship through Accenture. If you join Accenture, we have different types of rotational programs here where you can hopefully get a spot in one of our innovation rotational programs, and you'll get to try out to be on some of these different teams that I talked about earlier and work with them on some different projects. And if you do a really awesome job, then hopefully you can get a long-term spot on one of those teams as well. So that's option number one. Option number two, if you want to get a team like mine, another great path would be to work first at a startup and try to level up your skills, especially focusing on things like cloud infrastructure and getting familiar with cloud services. It's really important. Having a good background in Node is very helpful, and a very good background in JavaScript and one of the front-end frameworks like React or Vue would be a good start. I've hired 3 different guys on my team that either started their own companies or they were building their own cool, innovative technology to where it impressed me enough that I wanted them on my team. So I think that's always a great path to, pursue your own ideas and learn a lot of stuff along the way. And then you can come to a team like mine and you'll definitely get my attention. The third path is more similar to my journey, where you follow your own kind of long-term path and work on emerging technologies throughout that path. But if you go down this road, I think what's really important to remember is to try to focus on picking up industry relevant skills along the way. Just like we talked about at the beginning of this talk, think about what the world actually needs and where things are going, and be sure that you are learning and specializing in those areas. I've seen a lot of my friends who have done PhDs and gone different paths. They didn't really focus so much on what the world needed, and a lot of people struggle if they don't really listen to the needs of the market. So those are 3 different paths that you can pursue. And finally, I wanted to leave you with some career advice from a mad scientist. And these are things that I have picked up over the years throughout my career. And I think one of the best pieces of advice that I got early on, I had a great mentor early on. It was actually the CEO of Ericsson, the big telecom company now. His name is Börje Ekholm. And he told me that the job that you're applying for, that's not really the job that you're applying for. You're always applying for the job after the one that you're applying for. Meaning that, think about where things are headed, think about where you want to go, and understand how the job that you're applying for, how it opens up new possibilities and new paths for you to pursue. So I think that's super important. And another way to express that, I think Wayne Gretzky said, someone asked him, how come you score so many goals? And he said, well, that's because I'm skating to where the puck is going, not where the puck is. I think that's true in science, technology, and just having a successful career. The second really important thing to realize is that you are the product. I think a lot of people think about themselves as maybe an employee or a service person, but back to that Venn diagram that I showed, it's just extremely important to understand your brand and what you are selling to the world, and that aligns with the needs of the world, and to understand where different industry trends are going and what those needs are going to be, just like I talked about. And once, I definitely did not have these realizations when I was coming out of school, but I think the faster you can understand these things, what will happen is you will start seeing that you'll have a lot of inbound opportunities come your way, and people will be seeking you out, and you won't have to apply for jobs anymore in the future, that there's going to be a lot of people looking for you rather than you looking for jobs. And the third real important thing is to really follow your interest and what you're passionate about. Once again, making sure that there's demand for it and that you're awesome at it, but don't focus on money. And I think that's where another area where I see a lot of people screwing up. Money will come your way throughout your career. You'll pay off your debts over time, your school debt, and you'll figure that out. And it might feel really important to you right now, and I get that, I've been there as well, but in the long term, the money is not as important. It's more important to follow your interest and do something of value that creates value for the world, that solves problems and doesn't harm the world, because we are facing a lot of challenges right now, and we need to address them seriously. So I think those are probably the three best pieces of advice that I could give my young self coming out of college. And keep these in mind as you're pursuing your careers. And happy to follow up and try to answer any questions that you might have. Be sure to add me on LinkedIn. You have my email address right here. Take a screenshot, and you can always follow up and send me any questions that you might have. I do get a lot of emails, so it might not be a quick answer, but I will definitely try to give an answer as soon as possible. And with that being said, thank you so much. I'm happy to stay on and answer questions that you might have, and anything about Accenture, how to get into Accenture, innovation, Liquid Studios. It's all fair game. So thank you so much for listening.
Thank you, Eric. At this time, I am going to stop the recording and allow individuals the opportunity to go ahead and unmute themselves and ask any questions that they may have.